Hey everyone, welcome back. This is Ampro Engineering, and from what we can see right here, we are once again focusing on the Tamiya Blackfoot. Show of hands, who likes this? And by this, I think you know what I'm talking about. The bump steer. Okay, a little bit annoying, but this is an old car. And it's one of those charming things that's just accepted with something of this vintage. Now, if that is something that tends to get on your nerves, and I'm raising my hand here because it is one of those things that I don't like, I may have something for you. Well, from Ampro Engineering, we've got a set of new knuckles for the Blackfoot, Mud Blaster, and Monster Beetle. This is the re-release as well as the original. And it is going to alter the geometry of the servo connecting rod here, so that when you apply a load to the front of the car, or in the event the car hits a bump, and oh man, it's just epic, and the tires is pushed up and the spring compressed, the tires will still be pointing straight, and it will help dramatically reduce this bump steer. So to illustrate my point, the vehicle on the right, which is my Monster Beetle, has the upgraded front knuckle, so I can see it here in red. And the vehicle on the left has the factory front, let's make this straight actually, the factory front knuckle. Alright, we'll do the Blackfoot on the left, and Monster Beetle on the right. Well, I think that speaks for itself. The question, of course, is how hard is it to install? I went ahead and removed the front tires, you can see here, as well as the servo cover. And I'm just going to take this screw out here. Okay. And that will allow the entire knuckle assembly to come off. We will just pop it out of the ball end, and this is all we need. I will do this to the other side, and then we're going to take the hardware on this and transfer it to our new upright. Before we assemble these, let's take a moment and actually compare the upgraded Ampro one to the standard Tamiya one. It is very important to know that this is not my original concept. The same basic thing has been done many times by many companies in the 1980s. I believe CRP's done something similar, although they changed. I don't think that there was a standoff this big on it. Parma's done it. And I suspect that there's 50 other companies that all had some kind of basic idea of, making this upright a little bit less bump steer prone. The fact of the matter is, this is something that Tamiya should have done. And, well, okay, I get it, it's 1980s, and we were all still pretty new to RC cars, but still, this piece here is quite poor in terms of geometry. In fact, if you compare it, you can see that the same basic proportions are there. The angle of this arm is a bit different, and as well as the height of the arm, you can see the mounting point is quite a bit higher than the original arm. So you can also see that I have disassembled the original. Let's go ahead and put the new one together. Before we begin, we do need to clear out some of the holes. We'll start with the main hole for the screw pin. This needs to be drilled out to 3 millimeters. And now we'll just test fit this, and it slides straight in. You do want to make sure that it has a little tiny bit of resistance, and that simply means that there's not going to be any play in this. Any time that we can reduce the amount of play in really in any Tamiya front suspension, that's a good thing. This is the only hole that needs to have any kind of final manufacturing done to it. That's it. Everything else is ready to go. I will slide in the axle. Plops right in there, and you do want to make sure that it's the hole through the axle shaft is in line with the hole on the spindle, and it almost looks like, wow, that's amazing. So let's put the other one together too, but before we do that, I do want to make note of the ball stud over here. Usually I'll tell you that you have to clean out a hole to screw one of these in. In this case here, please don't. This is designed to bite directly into the existing hole. Drilling this out would increase the hole's diameter and make the ball stud not actually seat properly. There we go. Remember, don't over stress the nylon. You'll strip it out if you put too much stress on it, and this stuff really doesn't back out. So the minute it stops, it's good to go. So here is our spindle. This is going to be the one for the driver's side if you're in a left-hand drive country. Go ahead and finish the passenger side, and let's throw this on the truck. I will now install this right into the original location. Let's find the hole over here. All right, so we'll just drop the screw pin in here, and remember to always back thread to make sure you don't cross thread the hole here. Screw that in there till it stops. And there we go. Please check this out, because if you put this in and the knuckle has too much drag, or it's difficult to move left and right, the truck's steering performance is going to be reduced. If that's the case, take your drill and pass it through the hole through where the screw pin goes through a few more times, using a 3mm bit, not a 3.1. You really want to use a 3mm bit, and that will increase the tolerance slightly and get this to be a nice fit and really reduce the amount of play. Now I have to put the other side on, but first let's talk about the tie rods. These are going to be too long now. They're not going to be too long by very much, but they are going to be too long. It is my recommendation that you basically take this and snip off 4mm from one of the sides, or take it to a grinder and just shave off a couple of millimeters per side, and that will be sufficient. What I'm telling you here has to do with the stock Tamiya tie rods, as well as the stock Tamiya servo saver. Please ignore that this truck does not have the stock Tamiya servo saver. My Monster Beetle is stock, and that is what I had to do for that setup. I unfortunately cannot tell you how much to take off if you've got some kind of aftermarket servo saver, or a unique tie rod, or unique tie rod ends. That's all going to change a little bit. So I'm sorry, I can't tell you anything more than I know. Now I do want to mention one thing here. The tie rod does now come a lot closer to this plastic enclosure here. If I fully compress the suspension, it comes about 2mm away to coming into contact with this plastic piece. Now I find it to be more prominent on the passenger side because of where the servo is placed and the length of the tie rod in comparison to the other side. So the other side, if I flip this around, proceed here, it's a lot further away. It's not going to come into contact with anything. So anyway, I did just want to point out that if you have a much different geometry spring, maybe the shock body is a little bit shorter than these are, it's possible that it could come a little bit closer or even come into contact. From what I've seen in the past, that was typically a complaint, so I did design these a little bit shorter and altered the angle of attack on the hub to prevent that, but I do just want to remind you that these can come into contact depending on some of the setups that you have. So just a little heads up there. Well, I think it's time now to see how well our upgrade went. And I think we can see, not too bad. I do have to admit that this upgrade was a heck of a lot quicker and easier than my Hilux upgrade, so a little bit happy about that. This one had a lot less yelling involved. I hope you like it. This one's one of those things that's been annoying me for a long time, but you're probably wondering, durability, how strong is this thing going to be? In this particular instance, the component it is replacing, for me anyway, has been such a terrible piece of garbage that I would rather, of using that stock piece, use some sort of handcrafted marshmallow burnt over a fire to form that knuckle, because the stock one is so crappy. I always tell people that the factory plastics are going to be stronger than what we can get with today's technology in terms of this SLS nylon 3D printed plastic. This is one of those cases, though, where I can't even imagine anything could be more brittle than that stock one. This one here is quite beefy, but again, if you are concerned about durability, the only way you should go with a knuckle is going to be aluminum. They're readily available on eBay and very inexpensive. For me, I'm going to go this route because I have a lot of faith in the nylon, but I don't want any unhappy people out there. You want it durable, you have to go aluminum. That is it. You want no bump steer? I got it for you here. So, hope you liked it. If you're curious about what's happening next, I'll give you a little sneak preview. Do you see anything on here? Yeah. I know what you're thinking. That looks very familiar, and you would be right. It does look very familiar. So that'll be available soon, as well as a skid plate and a couple of other upgrades for the ORV. So that will be a lot of fun as usual. Thank you so much for watching this video. Please subscribe. I also post all the time on Facebook as well as Instagram under Ampro Engineering. And before you take off, please take a look at the band Blue Pinto. They are the ones that allow me to use their songs in my videos. And a link to their Facebook page will be found in the credits. Thank you again, and we'll see you next time.